Wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining tonight and welcome to our Building Bridges virtual showcase. This is our final live session of this showcase. We're really excited to be here. Happy to have you here. Just a few housekeeping items while we get started here. We're just asking folks to stay on mute, and we are casting this to Facebook. It's also being recorded, and I put in closed captioning for our live transcript. So my name is Jacob Carter, and I know many of you here. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm based out of the Partnership for Worker Education, and I have the real privilege of leading up our Building Bridges programming here on campus with really an outstanding team of staff from across campus. This is a real team effort, and it's just been a phenomenal showcase so far, and really the work of so many people has gone into this. So many folks have contributed, and we're really excited about this evening's session. So let me just tell you what we're going to do tonight. We'll start with a land acknowledgement. We've been starting all our sessions this way. Do a really quick showcase overview, and then we're going to head right over to Lisa Korpiewski and Sarah Jarman, who are going to be demystifying gel prints for all of us. And so we're excited to hear what you all are up to and to see your work and hear about your creative process. And then we're going to close out this evening with fireworks. And the fireworks were recorded by Michelle St. Martin. And what's now become a tradition, because this is our second year doing it, during the fireworks, we'll also be reading off the names of all of the artists who are participating in this showcase. And I'm going to apologize in advance because I don't know how to pronounce everyone's name perfectly. And so please forgive us if we don't pronounce your name correctly, but we really just want to honor you and honor your participation in the showcase. So I also want to thank Lonnie Edwards, who's our co-host this evening, behind the scenes, helping us with some of the technical aspects. It's always wonderful to have a co-host here helping out. And I'm going to move on to our land acknowledgement. So we are beginning all of our events by acknowledging that UMass stands on Nonotuck land. And we'd also like to acknowledge our neighboring Indigenous nations, the Nipmuc and Wampanoag to the east, the Mohegan and Pequot to the south, the Mohican to the west, and the Abenaki to the north. And this land acknowledgement comes from the 5 College Native American Indigenous Studies. So I appreciate that they've put this together. And Building Bridges is also just really committed to honoring this truth. And we're in the process of designing programming, including programming for this coming fall, to raise awareness about and create a space for dialogue to learn about this historic decision to change the state flag and the state seal. So we hope that you'll join us for that session and many other sessions that we're going to be hosting in the fall. So Building Bridges is a public art and engagement initiative that draws on the power of solidarity and creative expression to bring people together and create a bridge across difference. And I love this picture. This was a luncheon that we had, as well as an exhibit of the Our Immigrant Voices Photo Voice projects back in December 2019, when we were all still on campus and together. And it just makes me really look forward to seeing folks again whenever that happens, but hopefully soon on campus. And I do want to just mention that we have a lot of collaborators. These are just the collaborators from our spring programming. And so this is an effort that many people are investing in and spending time and energy to make it really exceptional. And especially those folks who participate in the classes, who participate in creating art and share back with the campus community. It's really an extraordinary effort. And if you haven't joined us already, we invite you to join us. Please get involved. And the showcase itself was put together and is still being put together by an outstanding organizing team. This is our organizing team: Michelle St. Martin, Lisa Korpiewski, Wayne Gagnon, Malini Sinha, Lonnie Edwards, Sarah Jarman, Donna Vanas, and Joe Connolly. And a lot of other folks contributed along the way. This is a core group of people, though, that have been really working on this and just making sure that this is a big success. And so a huge thank you to the organizing team. And we also have a working group that's made up of students, staff, and faculty. That's another opportunity for anyone to get involved, and we invite you to join us and join in our work. And before I go over to the website, just to reiterate that this is a real collaborative effort between our office, the Partnership of Worker Education, the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and Civic Engagement and Service Learning. And so I believe that most folks have been over to the website, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows how to get there. And so I'm going to share my screen briefly. Let's see here, just to get to our 2021 showcase. So this is where we have our virtual galleries. We'll also be posting all of the live sessions. You can see here our schedule of events. We're at the very final event down here, but each one of these has been recorded and we're including them in our Facebook playlist. And so you can check them out afterwards. If you scroll down, you can sign the guest book. If you haven't done that already, please do sign the guest book and share your support and enthusiasm for this creative work. These are all of our artists here. And then you can click on the name of an artist and we'll take you down to the gallery. To get into the gallery, right down here, if you click this, this will show you who's in that gallery, right? And then if you click on someone's picture, it will show you the work that they're sharing, right? So let's see, this is Matt Thornton. We can read his artist statement here. And then we can see pictures of his flies. And if you really want the full experience, you got to go to full screen, and that's this icon right up here in the top right hand corner with 4 arrows, and that will get you full screen. And you can walk through the photographs one by one, and then you can also go full screen on the photograph. So there are lots of ways to view the work. We hope that you take some time to check out the galleries. There's so much incredible work here. And it's really worth revisiting and revisiting and revisiting so that you can see a lot of this wonderful artwork and all of the creative work of the participating staff. So without any more announcements, I'd love to invite Lisa and Sarah to join us, and I believe Lisa's going to kick us off.
Yep, welcome everyone. I'm going to just share my screen because I have a presentation to share with everyone. Hold on. Okay, everybody can see that fine? Great, perfect. Okay, so welcome everyone. Tonight, Sarah Jarman and I are going to demystify gel printing. So last year I did 2 workshops on gel printing. The first one was an intro. The second one was with Karen Hakala, and we did a little more advanced gel printing using household items. And a lot of people went out and bought gel plates. And I heard that a lot of people still haven't even used them. And so I thought, well, maybe we can kind of revisit it, and maybe you'll take them out and start using them and see how much fun they really are for creating art. So I'm going to go through just like a little introduction. What is gel printing? It's a form of alt-carve monoprinting where you use a press to transfer paints and inks, hold on here, from the plate to paper or fabric. In this case, we use a gel plate, which is a soft silicone plate that allows you to create beautiful monoprints without a press. Sorry, wasn't able, there we go. And how do you print? So I have a little video I'm going to play here on how you print. And so what I'm doing here is I'm showing that I'm going to be botanical printing. I'm going to use some leaves. And so first I'm going to put 2 different colors on my gel plate. And these are a special kind of paint called fresco paints, and they're like a kind of a chalk paint. So they have a matte finish. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking my brayer and I'm just spreading my paint out on the plate, and I'm kind of mixing up the colors, but not mixing them to change the color, to make more like a mottled kind of look. And then now I'm going to take my leaves and I'm going to press them on the gel plate. And this is going to make an impression in the paint. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper, I'm going to put it over, I'm going to take the paint off the plate that is not covered up by the leaves. And that's just kind of making sure I get a nice firm press on it. And then you'll see where I'm going to remove the leaves, and you can see kind of have a little sneak peek about what that looks like. And I'm not going to play the whole thing because you guys can go back and watch last year's video, but I'll just do this one print for you to see. So that's kind of the gist of it. And then another thing you can do, like I use plants, which is kind of called botanical printing, to create the marks on my paint. But you can also use, as I mentioned before, household items. You can go in your recycling bin and use cardboard. The bottoms of egg cartons, if you ever like flipped them over and looked at them, everyone is different. They all have an awesome pattern on the bottom of them. Stamps, stencils, just yarn, I mean, just all kinds of things. And when Sarah talks more about her prints, she'll talk about some of the things that she uses that's, you know, kind of non-traditional. My warning is it's very addictive. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. And then so now I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, and Sarah's going to go through and kind of explain to us how she uses the gel plate as a tool for creating her artwork. So Sarah.
So hi, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. So I just have to thank Lisa for introducing me to jelly printing. It has been transformational and such fun. So I bought my first jelly plate last summer, and I've had a blast using it. It is such fun. So I usually paint or use oil pastels or soft pastels. So using a roller, a brayer, and a jelly plate has been quite a different process, and very satisfying too. So Lisa got me into jelly printing. I'm a novice, and I'm experimenting with my textures, with my papers. So these first couple of jelly prints are using the one on the right, the blue jelly print there. I used watercolor paper, which is very textured, as a high cotton fiber content. And so you get a very interesting grain when you kind of pull the print. So these two are more sort of experimental. I had great fun just dropping paint onto the jelly plate and just seeing what happens. Pulling a print and then adding some extra paint and pulling again. So these are kind of studies and just kind of getting to helping me get more familiar with the process. But it's so satisfying. And I have to say that my day work as a graphic designer is very controlled, very neat. So this is very physical, and it's kind of nice to get your hands dirty and kind of get in there with the paper and the paint.
So Sarah,
these two prints.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, can you tell us on the red one what you used to make that cool kind of like checkered mark on the print?
Yes. So going on the theme of found objects, I was looking for textures around the house. And so this is one of those tangerine bags that you get from the grocery store. So I can just cut it open and use that right on the jelly plate as a mask. So I try and, when I look at it, I kind of see more of a fishnet versus a tangerine bag, but it's a wonderful texture and adds a lot of sort of fluidity, I think, to the texture of the of the print. So this one is, I think I must have put some string or wool across it, then the tangerine bag. And with the paint on this one, I was adding medium because normally I use these heavy golden acrylics, which are quite thick and also can dry quite quickly. So I like to give myself a bit more time. So I did add a medium to the paints, which allows them to become more fluid and gives me a bit more time because they don't dry as quickly. So I was quite free with the paint on this one, so it's kind of a little bit blotchy, but I kind of like how it changes the density of the color. And the one on the right is using feathers, and I happen to have quite a few chickens and guinea hens, so I have an ample supply of feathers around the yard. So and this one too was on a textured, using textured paper, the watercolor paper, which gives some interesting effects.
Yes, definitely.
So,
I'll have to try using watercolor paper more. I really like that effect.
We have a question also. Lots of great comments coming in, some excitement. This awesome, Lisa, you make it look so easy, says Brett to the video. And Lonnie, love the textures and use of different colors. And Karen just says beautifully textured prints. Michelle loves the feathers. Joe says it's just like magic. And then there's a question from Lonnie, what's the medium used to thin the paint? And then there's another question that just came in from Lee, which is what type of paper should you use for the printing and the painting?
All right, well, I can talk about the paper, and Sarah, you can talk about the medium you use for thinning it out, because you can use any kind of paper, like absolutely anything, from copy paper to your junk mail to newspaper to really expensive fancy watercolor paper and artist paper to, I use tissue paper, I use tracing paper, deli paper. I mean, there's old books are awesome, like old books that are kind of yellowed with the text on them. Those are awesome for printing. And I actually have some samples of those when I get to mine. But so that's for paper, anything. Sarah, do you want to talk about the medium that you use to extend your paint?
Yes, so I've got quite a variety of different medium. I use, I think Liquitex or Golden are the two makes that I have, and they come in all different kinds. You can get you have gloss, and there's ones that are more fluid. So you mix it in with the paint, and it just makes it more runny and more fluid, and it also extends or can extend the drying time. But Lisa and I have been talking, and she uses the fluid acrylics, which I think I might invest in, because then you can just mix and roll and not worry about mixing with a medium to make them runnier. Because the golden, the heavy golden that I have, or the open golden is quite thick. So it's a little difficult to sort of use as is, but I guess there are a lot of paints that you can use. I just use the ones that I bought over the years for my acrylic painting.
Right, Sarah, can you talk about your masking here? What you did? How we have the edges?
Yes. So for these two, I was experimenting with masking. So just tearing paper. I love rough edges and some different kinds of boundary marks. So for these two, I tore some paper and placed it on top of the jelly plate as a mask. So this is a technique that I would like to experiment with more. But I think in future prints, maybe do a whole print, let it dry, and then add a mask on top, and then we can, add to the layers of the color that way. But they do have a different feel when you break away from the box or the very sort of structured, straight edges. So there's a freedom about the curved lines that I really like. So these two are let's see, the one on the left, again, very experimental. I didn't know where it was going. I was making some prints. And then at the last stage, I added some white paint and spread that with the roller, the brayer. And then when pulling it up, it had this wonderful ghosted effect with the creamy texture and the color. So there's something quite muted and mysterious, I think, about the colors in the one on the left.
You know what would be nice
So
with that is to do the masking technique over that print, and then you probably get some really cool effects. One of the fun things about the gel printing is building up your layers either on your plate or on your paper, and keep building up multiple layers. And that's when things get really interesting and the magic really happens.
Oh, for sure. So I'm such a newbie at this that these are my first experiments into jelly printing, but I do love it. And the green one, I think I just added paint directly to the jelly plate and just squirted the paint on and just used the brayer to spread it around. So just really enjoying playing with the paint. And so these two, the one on the left, I was experimenting with the optical play of cool and warm colors. So just literally dropping blobs of the red acrylic right onto the jelly plate. I quite like that effect. It's after I pulled the print, I could just see goldfish. I was thinking of goldfish in some koi pond. So that was the feeling that I took away from that one. And the one on the right is again a texture that I found. It was a sort of man-made fake snakeskin texture, which I rolled and then I kind of rolled that with ink and then pressed that down onto a print. So that was a sort of a two-stage jelly print.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then now you can tell, oh, you have one more before we get to the final one. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I think, oh yeah, here we are. So let's see.
What about
so the one on the left.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so the one on the left, again, is experimenting with adding paint directly to the jelly plate, quite loosely and just sort of, with random. But the one on the right evolved from a series of jelly prints that I did using a heart stencil. And at the end of me making these other jelly prints, I had this stencil left over, which I used as the core for this print. And using gold metallic paint, it had an amazing luminosity to the color with the light of the metallic and then the orange and the yellow of the paint. So this one I feel is quite haunting and quite layered, even though it was one of the last pieces that I did with using this stencil. I preferred. I think it has a sort of antiqued luster to it. There's something very kind of mysterious, I think, about that one.
Absolutely, I love that one so much. And then what about what's going on here? Can you tell us what you're doing now?
Well, this one, so after lots of experimenting with my jelly printing, this was an extension of my jelly printing using collage. So I set myself a little exercise to bring together different shapes, cut and torn in warm and cool colors. And it started off as being an abstract experiment or exercise. And then as I layered the different pieces together, it became very apparent to me that it was a moonscape. And in fact, I finished it over one of those amazing super moons. So the green circle in the middle is a supermoon or especially big full moon. And I see the green shape on the left with the red dots as my curtain, my drapes blowing. So it suddenly transformed from migrated from an abstraction to a view out of the window. But I really love how this one came together.
Me too. I think it's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your little journey into jelly printing. So now I'm going to switch over to me. And so I'm going to go through mine kind of quickly because everybody can look at my videos from last year, and you can go to my gallery on the Building Bridges website and see a bunch of my artwork. But this is on tracing paper, this one here, and it's a bunch of different layers using different stencils. And actually this is watercolor. So like a gouache, an opaque watercolor. This is something just kind of fun. It was a bunch of like roll-offs and just using it as like my they call it roll-off paper, and I decided to turn it into a piece of artwork. I think it came out kind of cool. I like the colors. This is that book paper I was telling you guys about, the antique vintage books, and I go like to the dump and get them, and then you can print on them, and then you can rip them up and make collages with them, or use them as a backdrop in your artwork, whatever. This is again the tracing paper. I really love using the tracing paper. It has a really fun feel. It kind of becomes leathery the more you work with it. This one I was trying to tell Sarah, like, this was a print I made I didn't really love, but if you cut it up and make it smaller, then now you have a smaller piece of artwork that might look much nicer and cut up and framed than this big piece. And so that was kind of just an experiment to see how that looked. This is just a print that I made. This is part gel plate, and then part, also the other thing I wanted to say about using your gel plate, I also use mine, like I said, I use it as a tool, but I also use it to hold my paper down, and then I can work on top of my paper, and then my paper doesn't move around, so you don't have to like tape it to your table and stuff, because the gel plate it holds the paper in place. And so I use that a lot. So it is really another tool in your studio. This was taken.
I should try that, Lisa.
I use it all the time that way. I'll do a base layer print, and then I'll put the paper on, and then I'll start working on top of with stencils and other mark making things, and it helps to build up the print. This was just Michelle had gifted me a bunch of envelopes, and so I turned it into an envelope journal, and I gel printed all the pages, and so now you can open it up and you can see in here where you can insert photos and let notes to yourself. And then right here is kind of fun. This piece right here, it's called like washi tape. And what I did is, the more you use your gel plate, you kind of get like dried up paint on the edges. And then a lot of people will clean it. You can clean your gel plate with like baby oil or even soap and water in the sink. But like, that's really awesome stuff. So I don't want to wash that down the drain. So I use double-sided tape and I pull it off my plate. And then now I have decorative tape to use in my artwork, and it all will go matching my artwork because it's the same color palette that I use all the time. So I thought that was a kind of cool thing to share with you guys. This is just a journal page. These are journal pages that I have in the journal that I'm working on. And so the backgrounds are gel printed. The paper, oops, sorry about that. The papers are all gel printed. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Lisa, those edges there on the left, those ragged edges?
Yeah, so what I do with that is I use a paintbrush and water, and you just kind of draw around the image, and then you can just, because the paint will soften the paper, the water will, and then you can just kind of pull it and you get a nice like feathered edge instead of a harsh edge if you were using scissors and cutting it, and then it just makes a really nice edge. So I really like the way that print went, and I didn't want to use it with white background, so I kind of cut it out and I turned them into, like, you see, like little pockets and things like that. So there's just so many fun things you can do. It's like limitless. And so kind of my newest venture is taking all these gel prints and turning them into kind of collages. And so it's something I'm working on, and they're not great, but I'm just trying to have fun with them and go in with no expectations, and just so here I can take some of the images in the collage and cut on the paper and cut them out and add them as elements like I did here. And, you know, here was just making shapes and using them. This, I did that edging, like I just described in the other one. Here's some more of that gel, that tape, that washi tape that I made that I was talking about. That stuff's addictive when you get going on that.
I have a quick question, Lisa. I
Yeah,
have a quick question. So tell me about your color palette on this one. It's a very rich color palette.
right.
So-
So I tend to work in earth tones. I don't know, I just seem to gravitate towards earth tones. But the one thing that is like kind of the secret sauce that I use is when you do a print or you create an image and like it's nice, but it needs that one additional thing. There's this one color of paint that I use, and Sarah mentioned I use these golden fluid acrylics, and it's called a nickel azo gold. And it's amazing. And it's like a transparent color, and it just adds this golden hue to everything. And you can see that in my print here, like there's like this gold hue to it. And it's like not like a metallic-y gold, it's like a warm, it just really warms things up. And so that's one of those things where you can use really inexpensive paints. You can go to Michael's, buy really expensive craft paints, but I highly recommend getting one or two better quality transparent paints that you can kind of layer on top of things to really bring your prints to a new level. It really does make such a difference. And so these are just some more prints that, you know, collages that I'm working on. And I think that's it. And then you can follow us on Instagram. Sarah and I are both on there. We post our artwork. I haven't posted too much lately. I need to probably get back and do that. And I guess that's it. Thank you for listening to our presentation. And does anybody have any more questions, Jacob?
Wow, those are just stunning. And there was just kind of a waterfall of comments coming in as y'all were presenting. I don't even know where to start, but I could go back to maybe go back to just some of Sarah's. You know, Donna saying the blueprint looks like water. Karen loves the snakeskin texture. Totally cool. Love the collage is amazing. Folks love the collage. And then Lisa getting into some of those. Brett says they have such a rustic beauty that he absolutely loves.
Oh, thanks for
Amazing textures and colors from Lonnie. Karen says the color combinations are so beautiful. Michelle calls it masterful. Amazing journals. Joe says, Lonnie says she loves the tearing technique and that idea of using water in the brush. And the collages, again, lots of fanfare from Karen and Michelle. And so, yeah, wow, that was a lot.
I know, sorry.
A lot of creative work. Oh, please don't apologize. It's fascinating to see what you're doing with those relatively simple tools, but then you're using all of these different techniques to bring out really different pieces. And each of you has a different style, and obviously coming up with different, different prints. It's really, really beautiful.
Well, I hope it gets people to want to pull their gel plates out of the drawer and just play, especially this time of year. I mean, go outside and take a walk and pick stuff out of your yard and bring them back and print them on your plate. It's so much fun. Just nothing sharp because you don't want to puncture it.
That's right, nothing sharp.
Nothing sharp.
And so, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just reading Michelle's comment. She's going to take hers on vacation. Good. I want to see what you create when you come back.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned that, some folks had picked up materials, but had not just, they haven't been able to get into it yet. So one question was kind of, where do you start? And then Michelle says, okay, she's taking her on vacation. So that's one way to start. What's another way to, demystify that? Just that a starting process, because sometimes starting something or doing it the first time can feel like a real challenge.
Take it out and leave it on your table, right? And just like I leave mine out all the time. Mine never gets put away because I use it all the time. But just leave it on your table with some paint and some paper in your brayer and just leave it. And then you'll look at it and think, and then literally just put one color on and roll it out and just print a solid print on, just without even putting any marks into it, and see. And it's just magical. And you can never reproduce your prints. That's why they're mono prints. They're one of a kind prints. I mean, you could take a photo and you could print them out, sure, but it's not going to be the same as having an original piece of art. And so I get it can be intimidating, but I really hope that I help to make it not seem as scary. You know, because it's just really fun. Just jump in, just do it. Be Nike,
Yep.
just do
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, I totally agree with Lisa. And I think the other thing to remember is it's really liberating. There's something about the jelly plate, just rolling the paint. There's something just very liberating and relaxing and almost like what's therapeutic. It's a very kind of therapeutic activity. I mean, I just love it. And it's such a wonderful contrast to all the time we spend on the computer and our devices. It's just the complete antithesis of that, you know. It's getting back to using our hands. It's wonderful.
100%.
So just dive in.
Exactly. Just do it.
We had a couple more comments. Jude says, art at the cabin coming up for Michelle. And so that's another way, right? Just bring it with you on vacation and travel around with your kit, right?
Exactly.
And then Brett says loves the Sarah's backdrop. Very cool, Sarah.
I know, it's very Vogue.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for taking us on this tour of your jelly prints. The gel prints are just really, I'm just kind of mesmerized. You covered so much with so many techniques, and so hopefully this is also a great starting point for someone who's interested, right? To just see how far you can go with it, and it just seems like the boundaries don't exist, and you can just keep pushing and keep trying new things and keep creating. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is our grand finale we're coming to now. So I would just like to say thank you again to everyone. The showcase has been just a wonderful place to be. I know it's been virtual, but it has really been a gathering place for many of us over these last 2 weeks. And we've just seen remarkable creative work from our colleagues here on campus. New relationships have been made. New people have met each other through the showcase, have connected around these live sessions. We've heard some really powerful stories and voices of experiences with creative work, and just also, what it's like to be on campus and to be in this world. And I just want to thank everyone for their honesty and their courage and for sharing with all of us. It's a true gift that you all have given to each other. And so, coming back to this idea of inspire and be inspired, it's a word that we've seen come up frequently, and people have talked about it. But really, it is inspiring to see all this creative energy, and also to have this invitation, especially in the presentations where you walk away thinking, gosh, I'd really like to try that. So we hope that you do. And we would like to close out tonight's event with fireworks. This is what we did last year as well. And during the fireworks, Lisa, Sarah, Lonnie, Michelle, and I are going to read out the names of all of the participating artists. And I believe we have 77 participating artists and makers in this year's showcase. So we've got quite a list for you, and we have a really spectacular fireworks display. And so I'm going to cue up the fireworks here, and we're going to project our voices so that you can hear the names over the fireworks, because they do get pretty loud. All right, let's see here. All right, Sure, let's get started. Frank Erickson, Jackie Bishop, Helen Ford, Jeff Brooks, Tanzania Cannon Ackerman, Alice Caruso, Aman Chuan, Jessica Claros de Figues, Lillian Coleman, Kathy Collins, Karen Como, Ian Cook, Patty Cromack, Jeff Dalzell, Liam Delory, Tony Denny, Tara Denson, Ultra Roma. Go ahead and read the next line here. Bonnie Edwards, Marv Ellen, Rebecca Feinberg, Brett Felix, Chelsea Field, Wayne Gagnon, Lee Gao, Monica Garcia, Wayne Gilligan. Michelle, do you want to pick it up?
Mari Gray, Karen Hakala, Barbara Hastings, Sandra Haynes, Amy Helstowski, Paula Heldecker, Andrew Humple, Sarah Jarman,
Joy Jam, Joanne Keller, Lisa Korpiewski, Carol Landry, Melinda Lillashire, Lisa Lizenski, David Lynch, John McLeod, Maha, Nazim Nimedov, Alan Marto, Mara Martins, Ashley Hottingley, Connie Milne, Sarah Mojo, Korpiewski, Nate Carter.
Ra Fo, Jody Powell, Sally Prash, Elsie Raskovich, Chelsea Riley, Lorna Ritz, Pam Rooney, Kathy Russell, Katie Sadler, Miles Sanders, and Melissa Scheid France.
Rebecca Schmidt, Liz Scott, Mary Emma Searles, Andrew Sierra, Malini Sinha, Sue Siv, Michelle St. Martin, Fraser Stowe, Matt Thornton, Donna Vanoff, Lisa West, David Wilson, Yi Zhang, Fred Zinn.
Wow, thank you so much for reading off the names of our participating artists and for that great fireworks show. Michelle, thank you so much for recording that and sharing it with us. It's a really fun way to end our sessions here. Let me just give one last thanks to our organizing team, and special thanks again to Sarah and Lisa for presenting, sharing their creativity with us tonight. and to Lonnie Edwards for co-hosting this evening. And we look forward to seeing many of you soon back on campus or virtually. And thank you so much. It's been a great evening and a great session and a really outstanding showcase. Congratulations to all of you and to all of the participating artists, and have a wonderful evening. Thanks, everyone.